Hi, I'm Sophia, and today I'm going to be talking about my long distance relationship and the three things I generally break down when explaining my long distance relationship. So, first, to give some context, I live in California, and my boyfriend lives in Massachusetts. So, we are 2.5 thousand miles away from each other, generally all the time. And because we are both students, we generally can visit each other every 3 to 4 months, with the occasional 5 to 6 month break in the spring, summer semester. So, with that, there are three things I like to break down when people ask me about what it's like being in a relationship. And that is communication, failure, and overstimulation. Which seem like very weird topics to bring to the table, but I think after I'm done explaining them, they'll all make sense. So, the first one is communication. Because I'm in a long-distance relationship, the only thing we can really do on a day-to-day basis is talk. Whether that be texting or video chatting or just talking on the phone, all we can really do with one another is talk. And that is both a pro and a con, depending on how you look at it. It's a pro because we are very open with one another, and the distance has kind of forced us to be very open about how we're feeling and about the things we need in a relationship, which is something that can be very difficult for relationships in general and relationships in high school. And it's a con because you miss this kind of silent intimacy that can come with a relationship, in terms of I can't necessarily sit in silence with my boyfriend and just hold his hand, or we can't hug things out after an argument. But we can still have those intimate moments over the phone. There's definitely times when I'm FaceTiming my boyfriend and we aren't saying anything to each other, and it still feels like the same connection that comes from sitting with someone in silence, with that physical aspect removed. So there's that. Communication is huge in a long-distance relationship. The second thing, which seems odd as a title, is failure. And I say failure not because long-distance relationships in general are more likely to fail, because that's actually not true. There is no statistic that says long-distance relationships are any more likely to fail than close distance or normal relationships. But I say failure because everyone in my life expects this long-distance relationship to fail. And I think that's a combination of the fact that I am in high school and I am growing and changing as a person every day. The fact that I'm just young and people don't think that relationships when you're young are supposed to last. And the fact that my boyfriend lives on the other side of the country. So when you have everyone in your life preparing you for a failure that has yet to happen, it can get exhausting. And you can have a lot of anxieties about things that haven't happened. Like, I will find myself having anxieties about things that, won't happen until I'm applying for college, or that won't happen until I move out of the house. And why I say communication before failure is it is that communication in our relationship. That ability for me to say, I'm freaking out about this thing that hasn't happened because everyone in my life is telling me I should freak out about it. And the ability for my boyfriend to say, look, okay, it hasn't happened yet. I can't predict the future, but we can talk about it now, and we can know that right now it's not a problem. So failure, not in the sense that the relationship is going to fail, but that everyone expects the relationship to fail, because I think everyone in my life, at least, or just everyone looking at a high school relationship, expects it to be short-winded and expects it to be this kind of hot flame that dies down after a while, which can generally be kind of taken from physical intimacy, which is very important in relationships, but I think sometimes there's too much importance put on physical intimacy, and just the fact that young people apparently can't commit in relationships, which is a topic I could go on and on and on about, and I will save it for another video. The third thing I want to talk about is overstimulation, and that seems weird because that's not something I think people talk about in high school relationships, but it's the biggest reason I see relationships in my school and with my friends fail. Because when you go to school with someone, or when you see someone every weekend, you're spending every minute of time you're with that person. And it seems a little silly to talk about, but once you think about it, it's hard to talk about your day with someone who is there with you. So when I call my boyfriend, or when I FaceTime my boyfriend, and I tell him about my day and he tells me about his day, I wasn't there. I can't say, oh yeah, I remember that, or I don't know what he's talking about when he is describing certain places. So there's this whole level of, like, depth that comes from the fact that we don't spend every second of every day together, which I think is the reason a lot of high school relationships burn out, is because you run out of things to talk about because you're there when those things happen. Which is not a dig on relationships in high school that are not long distance. I think all relationships are beautiful and amazing and beautiful things. Emphasis on beauty, apparently. I love and I love relationships, and I don't think one type of relationship is more likely to fail than another. These are my thoughts and my ideas and opinions from what I've seen at my school with my eyes and my friends. So my kind of thoughts and my experiences can't compare to maybe yours. Maybe you've seen the opposite. Maybe you've seen all long distance relationships fail and all relationships where the people live right next door work. That's the gorgeous and horrible thing about relationships, is there's no one experience. So it's hard to give advice in relationships because my relationship is not your relationship, is not my relationship, which is the big kind of takeaway that I want to come from this video, especially when it comes to, like, the idea of expecting a relationship to fail. My relationship is not your relationship, is not the relationship you see on TV, is not the relationship you read about in a book in the 7th grade. There is nothing I can say about being in a long-distance relationship that 100% all the way through is going to apply to any other long-distance relationship, which I don't think a lot of people understand when I talk about my relationship. I cannot, I feel, give advice to other people specifically about being in a long-distance relationship because I'm in a relationship with my boyfriend. I am not in a relationship with someone else's boyfriend or girlfriend or whomever. I can only talk about my relationship as my relationship. I can't turn my relationship into someone else's relationship and give advice like that. So, to wrap things up, the biggest kind of topics I like to talk about are communication failure and overstimulation. I am totally happy to keep talking about my relationship. If any of you have questions or comments, you can find me on social media. I'll have a great day, and I hope you learned something, or at least enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you very much.